Welcome to the Happiness Matters podcast, where we'll explore happiness at work and show you how to coach yourself to be happier there and more successful too, no matter what.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Welcome to you all today, our first year of podcasting. I'm Julia Seal, your coach and your host at Happiness Matters. This week is going to look a little different. I thought it would be fun to indulge ourselves a little today. Some cake, some champagne, no buffering in lockdown though. Just some fun, some looking back at our time together, and a special birthday gift for you. It's perfect timing, as last week you were putting together your concept of a crafted version of your happiness and success, your artisanal shokunin happiness. And now you've got to your own definition of happiness. Let's celebrate. It's taken us a year of coaching together to get here. For those of you who are just joining us, you're probably thinking, what? A year to come up with a definition of happiness? I know exactly what will make me happy right now. What we've been doing this year is absorbing ourselves in a year of exploration and contemplation and coaching around what we want to define as happiness and devote the rest of our lives to. So a robust, a purposeful and intentional 100% your creation of happy and successful no matter what. It's been a fun year for us, a good year, a year of mastering new technology and a year of meeting you all online. Fraser and I launched the podcast on the 1st of May last year, 1st of May being May Day and International Workers' Day, the most perfect day to be thinking of transitions and transformations. May Day for all our listeners in the Northern Hemisphere marks the start of spring, a time of new beginnings, fresh starts, rebirth and new growth. Of course, for all our listeners in the Southern Hemisphere, it marks the start of autumn, a time of reflection, rest and rejuvenation. But May Day is also Labor Day, Workers' Day, and is a celebration of workers worldwide. Interestingly, it was sparked by an event in the United States over 100 years ago and picked up by labor organizations worldwide. Yet Labor Day in both the States and Canada, which marks the same occasion, is celebrated at the end of the long summer holidays, the first Monday in September. So in Chicago, there was a demonstration about working hours known as the Haymarket Affair. Remember our episode 1.27 on coaching yourself at fun at work? Here I introduced Robert Owens, the Welsh textile manufacturer respected for his efforts to improve factory working conditions in the early 1800s. And he came up with the slogan, 8 hours labor, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours rest. Well, this slogan of his sparked everything. And in Chicago in 1886, during a strike for fair working hours, an unidentified bomb went off, police fired into the crowd, and many people, including police officers, were killed, and labor leaders were then arrested. After that, in 1904, an international call went out to all Social Democratic Party organizations and trade unions to demonstrate energetically on the 1st of May for the legal establishment of the 8-hour day, and ultimately to establish a culture of human and worker rights, ensuring these rights are enshrined in international law and national law. In South Africa, 100 years after Chicago's Haymarket Affair, 1986, and at the height of the apartheid era, more than 1.5 million formerly employed workers stayed at home on the 1st of May. It became an unofficial holiday and a day of resistance to the apartheid government. It's now an official holiday. Today, this year, it's the day we move from our incredibly strict level 5 COVID-19 lockdown to level 4, where about 1.5 million workers are lucky enough to be allowed to return to work today and to earning. The rest of South Africa, all 57 million of us, must continue to stay at home. We're now allowed to buy warm clothes ahead of winter, but still no alcohol purchases, and everyone must be back in our homes by 8 p.m. We've got 5 of these levels to get through before life looks anything like normal again. It's very sobering to think that while Owen was instituting 888 in his factory back in 1817, and International Workers' Day was instituted in 1904, today, more than 200 years later, of the world's 195 countries, only 52 of them have agreed to the Hours of Work Convention by the International Labour Organization. Happiness Matters was born out of my passion that these 8 hours, or more if we're not following France's El Khomri law and the right to disconnect, that these 8 hours we spend at work could be as rewarding and meaningful as those 8 hours of recreation and 8 hours of rest. It was inconceivable to me as a teenager that we should spend 8 hours doing something that we hate or suffer through just for a paycheck. This was much shaped by my father. He was a human capital manager, then executive, on the mines and estates of southern Africa, who sacrificed his own old boys club reputation to support workers' basic conditions, like houses instead of dormitories, running water and toilets, worker literacy, and child schooling. A somewhat unpopular stance amongst business leaders in Zambia in the 1950s, Rhodesia in the 1970s, and Swaziland in the 1980s. Despite being a businessman, he played a huge role in assisting fledgling trade unions to strengthen their negotiation skills and to sit across boardroom tables for a fair fight with management, the kind that didn't end up in strikes and violence, further division, and seething hatred for each other. Work is a feature of our lives, an essential ingredient to our happy and successful no matter what. And I do mean that for anyone, everyone doing any kind of work. All work can contribute to a life of meaning, purpose, happiness, and success. Work is another playground of our lives, 8 hours of it, just like the 8 hours of recreation and 8 hours of rest. It is the most difficult aspect of our lives to turn into a playground, to use for our happiness, and to use as the best place to grow ourselves, develop and evolve ourselves to the best version. All our issues in life will show up at work. Even if you think they're home issues, they'll still bleed through into our working life and how we show up for ourselves and others. Work brings into stark relief where power lies in our lives. Is it internal, resilience, or external, reliant on the outside world changing, on others doing things differently, on rank and roles? How happy and successful we are at work, how well we use the work of our lives to get to know ourselves at the deepest level is our best opportunity to unlock our future, to transform, and to make the most of our precious human life. So last year, the Happiness Matters podcast was launched in order to share a way to use work as the best opportunity for our growth and evolution. A way through podcasting that is available to anyone who works anywhere in the world. Which is what I do in my consulting and employee engagement. I work at the level of strategy, so I work with business leaders to make the most of their employees' engagement, their employees' passion, commitment, their discretionary effort. And that's all their employees at all levels, including themselves. We've reached a strange point in world history with the COVID-19 pandemic. We're entering a time, and please excuse me jumping on the latest jargon bandwagon, a time of the new normal, post-COVID, and a time of pivoting business. What's become abundantly clear after a year of podcasting Happiness Matters is that the majority of our listeners, by a long way, are the same people that my coaching practice centers around. Businesswomen who are in midlife, who want to be happier and more successful. Women who have worked hard in their lives already, who are already successful, but are now looking to go that step further to make the most of the next phase of their lives, their midlife. Women who are using their work to evolve themselves, embracing the opportunities it throws up to grow themselves so that they show up as more of themselves at work and at home, so that they can be better leaders in all areas of their lives, inspiring and growing those around them. Women who are determined to use their lives to make a difference in the world. So this upcoming year, I'll be pivoting the podcast to focus on these women, on you and your issues of midlife and making a difference, on what it means for you to be happy and successful no matter what. This is not to say that the material is not relevant to anyone in the working world. We can all use the tools of self-coaching. We can all learn how to manage our minds, use the power of our emotions, and take massive action. This is what Happiness Matters is all about. But this year, I'll be primarily focused on how I can help you through this coaching journey, using materials and examples directly relevant to you. If you are one of my listeners, Fraser and I would truly appreciate if you'd share this podcast with all the businesswomen you know who would like to make the next phase of their lives a transformational experience, who are interested in doing the work of their lives, using work as their playground. Friends, colleagues, family who are women in midlife, showing up for their lives to evolve themselves and make a difference, to contribute to the world. So please share the podcast. Please review us on Apple Podcasts, and please talk to us on Ask Julia on our website or on Facebook or LinkedIn. That's a lot of places. Now, Fraser and I have gone through the last 48 episodes to pick out the top clips for you. Thanks to so many of you for your comments. It is wonderful to know when something has resonated for you and when you're using it in your life. And we've included your favorite clips. As I go through these, keep your happiness checklist to hand, as I'm sure the clips will get you thinking more deeply about your definition of happiness and success no matter what. So enjoy them, and then we'll have our celebration of champagne, chocolate cake, Marmite scones, and a very exciting gift for you. And remember, you can download all our free coaching tools from our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. So from our early episodes, the 13 core coaching episodes of Series 1, we've picked out 4 clips that depict our coaching journey together. All languages, as far as I'm aware, even the oldest languages such as Tamil and ancient Egyptian have words for happiness. Then there are the words that we need in English, like the Chinese character called double happy, which can represent marriage and which my parents had framed above the door in their bedroom. In Sanskrit, the difference between sukha, happiness as an authentic state of being, and preya, happiness as transient pleasure. Our languages reflect our cultural beliefs about happiness. Even our new technology age has its own hieroglyphics, emojis and emoticons that express the various nuances in what we mean when we talk happiness. We have the ancient Greek word eudaimonia, which means the good life, living well and faring well, being in a contented state of being healthy, happy, and prosperous. We have the kindergarten song, If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And I'm not going to sing on the podcast. And we have Hello Kitty, the much-loved Japanese fictional cartoon character who has no mouth, precisely so she speaks no one particular language, but speaks happiness from the heart. I'm going to talk about 3 well-known journeys from Western culture to illustrate what this coaching process from A to B is all about. The first takes us back to our early philosopher's time in ancient Greece. It's the story of Hades and the river of misery. Sounds daunting, doesn't it? The river of misery is described in the myths of the Greek underworld, where souls go after death. Once we die, we need to safely cross from the mortal world to the underworld, and to get there, we need to cross the river Acheron, also known as the river of pain, of woe, the river of misery. If we don't successfully cross the river of misery, our souls will be left stranded on the bank, left to wander aimlessly for the rest of time. On the other side of the bank is the entrance to Hades, guarded by Cerberus, the triple-headed dog, along with the judges of the underworld who decide where to send newly arrived souls. You also have to get by those who live at the front entrance to Hades: anxiety, fear, need, agony, and discord, just to name a few. So to get to point B, our goal in coaching, we have to cross the river of misery. We have to go through pain and beyond any number of scary obstacles. Now, if you think of your coaching journey as a river of misery like this, it sounds totally terrifying, doesn't it? And you'd surely need a guide. And one better than the filthy, dirty river guide, Sharon. Talking of squirrel moments, did you watch the 2009 movie Up? Well, if you haven't, here's a little laugh. Doug the talking dog, or Doug the unconditional love dog, I have just met you and I love you dog, has a special collar that enables him to talk to humans, and he's very capable of great conversation. The only problem is that he gets distracted whenever he sees a squirrel. I find it hilarious and it makes me smile every time. Now, I can't play it for you here due to copyright issues. So in the show notes, I'll include a link to a YouTube video for you that's too funny. It's just a cut clip of Doug's squirrel moment. And if you keep pressing 6 on your keyboard, you can hear Doug's squirrel moment over and over and over again. The small things that amuse us. Buffering is an ideal way to show you where you're finding the work of your life difficult and where you're getting stuck. As I said, it's like a red flag to show you the way. Red flags, actually, to warn of danger, were used as far back as 1600 by military forces, indicating they were getting ready for battle. On our beaches in Cape Town, they're most often used to indicate a great white shark has been spotted in the last hour. Then, from our 7 insight coaching sessions around the topic of smiling, laughing, and self-smizing, and how we use these topics to trigger your brain so that we can look more deeply into your underlying beliefs about happiness. Lastly, there's the idea of laughing on purpose and intentionally, or faking it till you make it. We introduced this concept last week when we talked about smiling and the benefits of smiling. Current research tells us that even when we fake a smile, we can get the benefits from the released neurotransmitters and neuropeptides. Our brains cannot tell if our smile is genuine or not. Something similar is at work when it comes to laughing, and this is where I'll digress into a very brief introduction to laughter yoga. I will go into this in more detail in Series 2, but I'd like to introduce this to you as a practice that you can do intentionally to get the physiological benefits and to start that social chain reaction on purpose. Laughter yoga sessions begin with some stretches and various versions of ho 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 and ha ha ha, just like Father Christmas, followed by specific laughter exercises. And what can I tell you? It sounds absolutely bizarre and ridiculous and embarrassing, but it works. I did a course to become a laughter yoga teacher a while ago. It was uncomfortable for me, but I was amazed at how good I felt every evening afterwards and how natural it became to laugh easily with strangers. Just try and sing happy birthday to you with the words he, ha ha ha, and ho ho ho, and you'll see what I mean. You can't help yourself. It's very catchy. I am putting links into the show notes for you so you can see the exercises on YouTube and try it out on yourself. I really encourage you to give it a try. Then we introduce the idea of our happiness wisdom concepts. Let's now look at another side of 50-50 and yin-yang. As I said earlier, the duality, the opposites are complementary, interconnected, and interdependent. In other words, one does not exist without the other. It is impossible to have good without the bad. We don't even know that something is positive if there is no negative. We don't know what happiness is without unhappiness, or success if there is no failure. The balance of emotions is that without negative emotions, we'd never know positive emotions. We need the negative emotions of grief, sadness, loss, disappointment, fear, and pain in order to feel happiness, joy, contentment, peace, excitement, and fun. Pain and discomfort are a natural and normal part of our human experience. We actually want and need the negative emotions. I'm sitting here with my mum in a hospital bed, and next to me there's an 11-year-old in the bed whose brain is hooked up to 32 wires and plugged into a computer. Do I want to be sad, worried, and low in my soul? Yes. I certainly don't want to be finding pleasure in their misfortune, feeling joyful in the face of their pain. Right now, I don't want to be in a positive thought prison. Think about it for yourself. Do you really want to feel pleasure all of the time? So you'd have to be pleased when horrible things happen. You'd have to be joyful when loved ones die, when people are murdered and children are abused. Any cataclysmic event, you'd have to be content about it in order to be positive all the time. No. We want to feel the sadness, the horror, the grief, the anxiety, and the fear. We want the whole human experience. We want to be fully human, happy and unhappy. We took a longer journey examining and coaching our negative emotions in detail, what it means to feel better, so that we can see exactly what's going on in our unhappiness. So that's the first part of being an emotional child. Now let's look at taking full responsibility, self-responsibility. The only way to achieve emotional maturity is through self-responsibility. Emotional adulthood means taking responsibility for our pain and also for our joy, not expecting other people to make us happy, not expecting others to make us feel secure, and appreciating that we are the only ones who can hurt our feelings. Blaming someone else for how we feel is a sure way to hand over our emotional power to someone else. These ideas are so different to what we're typically taught about the world. Taking responsibility for our pain. No one else is to blame for your feelings of sadness, unhappiness, frustration, and anger, only you. Taking responsibility for our pleasure. No one else is responsible for you feeling happy, secure, loved, valued, engaged. Only you. And how about this one? We are the only ones who can hurt our feelings. Think about all the ways we are socialized into a powerless way of viewing ourselves, all the messages we are getting as children as we grow up and as adults right now. My mother hurt my feelings. My husband, my partner, is not meeting my needs. I don't feel loved. I don't feel attractive. He should be more romantic, more loving. My manager must do this, so I'm more engaged and committed at work. That new guy makes me so angry. You are the only one who hurts your feelings. You are the only one who can meet your needs for love and safety. And you are the only one who creates feelings of commitment and engagement. Now, you might not agree with me. It's so not easy to see it in ourselves. But it's most likely the secret to everything. All your pain, all your difficult emotions, and all your unhappiness. So stay with me here on the podcast, because we're going to do this work together. The minute you blame someone else for how you are feeling, or something else, the company, the economy, your horrid work colleague, your ex-husband, you are handing over your emotional power to another. Your power and how you feel today. You become the victim and you are no longer in control of your happiness. It's not over yet. Now, the third aspect of buffering is related to the throbber when you switch on your computer. If you have an Apple Mac, it's the line that fills up as your computer wakes up, or the rotating pinwheel when your machine is thinking. And on Windows, it's that hourglass cursor. Yeah, these are actually called throbbers. And if you watch Netflix, it's the red progress bar while you're waiting for a movie to start streaming. These throbbers illustrate the other aspect of buffering. So not just cushioning the negative 50% of your life. You're not just distracting yourself with short-term immediate pleasure and relief. What you are also doing is putting your life on hold. Our lives, the time we have available alive, is now spent on managing these net negatives. So you spend your days looking for the next diet, looking for ways to de-stress. You scour the internet to find another job. You apply for yet another credit card. You read books on how to stop procrastinating. You gossip about the new boss over tea, over lunch, at home, to your friends on the phone. And to stop procrastinating, you buy another calendar app and spend hours setting it up. These are the ways that we are just like Apple and Microsoft and Netflix throbbers. We become even more distracted from the reality of our life as we buffer away our lives, finding ways to now break this habit you've created. Your mind is completely distracted right into your version of buffering. And what it is not doing is thinking about you in the world. What you could be doing if you were free from all of this. What contribution you could be making in the world. Think about it. If you were free from overdrinking, overeating, overspending, overworking, hyper-anxiety, being overly concerned with other people's lives, long hours on Facebook or Instagram, what would you be doing instead? Initially, you might get bored, yes, and want to fill it with a healthier buffer, if there's such a thing, perhaps like more work or exercise or cooking. But what would you do with your life if you didn't have all these activities to just fill your time? What might you be doing instead? You might be building a business or teaching children how to read. You might be traveling to distant places or learning another language. You might be volunteering at the old age home or the animal shelter. You might be campaigning to change government policy. And instead, you are spending so much of your day playing solitaire, watching TV, starting a new diet, answering unnecessary emails. You are buffering away the hours of your precious human life. Buffering is stealing our dreams. Firstly, let's look at how you're already anti-fragile. All of us have this quality. Can you find an example of when you were emotionally courageous, when you were lion-hearted, and when you were anti-fragile? I'm very sure you can. And if you can't right now, I'll give you one example that we all have. We all learned to walk when we were small people. We developed from crawling baby to tottering toddler, displaying anti-fragility. We weren't taught how to walk. We weren't given an iPad and pointed in the direction of YouTube to watch a video on how to learn to walk. No. We crawled and wiggled and rocked and stood and fell down over and over and over again. Think about the will and determination, the lion-heartedness that you must have felt inside in order to continue to get up and try again. The more you failed, the better you got at it. The more you fell down, the stronger your legs got. And the more times you tried, the more accomplished you got. So you already have this quality. You're already anti-fragile, with emotional courage and a lion's heart. Now, where else do you have it? A divorce? Death of someone close? A really bad manager? A dressing down by the CEO? A presentation that you fluffed? How did these experiences actually make you stronger? You've heard my story in the introductory episode 0, where I talk about my life and how I've ended up as the host of Happiness Matters, and I'm so passionate about unhappiness and self-leadership. Why I'm so passionate about us growing into a stronger version of ourselves, our next level of emotional evolution. So what's your story? And now, in all honesty, where do you not have it? Where are you being a victim in your life, at the effect of your life? Where are you in emotional childhood and handing over the power in your life? Where are you not using your anti-fragile qualities? And where are you not tapping into your emotional courage, lion-heartedness? Why not look specifically at where you're unhappy now, the pockets in your life where you're unhappy? Where are you suffering from negative emotions? Where might you be hiding from living your full life, buffering your negative emotions away? What might life look like if you were lion-hearted, emotionally courageous in this situation? What would it mean to feel the fear and do it anyway, like Cowardly did? Or to slay the dragons with the Heart Sutra? Or to chop off the Hydra's head so thoroughly that nothing grows back like Hercules did? What might life look like if you were anti-fragile in this situation? What if you looked at it as a challenge that will make you stronger, build your capacity, be more happy and more successful the more you face the challenges with this perspective? Interestingly, there's always relief from your unhappiness and stuckness when you start working with a coach. And it's partly that excitement of new possibilities and a future free of your problem. It's partly the relief of having a guide who can see the big picture. And it's partly how the trust relationship with your coach shifts your panicking brain into safety, where your innate curiosity, innovation, and ability to embrace change can kick in. So coaching guides you through the change process. But great coaching will do much more than that. It will actually put more wood on the fire of your discomfort. So yes, it will calm your brain down, and then work with you and your relationship to discomfort so that you can learn to embrace change in a whole new way. That's what can be transformational about coaching. You'll learn to overcome that reaction of your primal brain to doing new things and avoiding anything unpleasant. You'll learn to embrace discomfort. You'll learn how to walk through the fire and choose your next level evolution because you want to. Because the discomfort is fun. That's a big ask of a coach. This adding wood to the fire is a Tibetan expression for deliberately increasing the challenges of maintaining a steady mind. As my teacher Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche explains in his book, In Love with the World, generally, people go through life taking note of those experiences that recurrently inflame our anger or anxiety or fear. And then we try and avoid them, telling ourselves things like, I can't watch scary movies, I can't be in big crowds, I have a terrible fear of heights. But the causes that provoke these responses do not go away, and when we find ourselves in these situations, our reactions can overwhelm us. Using our inner resources to work with these issues is our only true protection. Adding wood to the fire deliberately brings difficult situations to the forefront so that we can work with them directly. We take the very behaviors or circumstances that we think of as problems and turn them into allies. When we add wood to the fire, instead of trying to smother the flames of our fears, we add more fuel, and in the process gain confidence in our capacity to work with whatever settings we find ourselves in. We no longer avoid situations that have disturbed us in the past, or that evoke destructive patterns or emotional outbursts. We begin to rely on another aspect of mind that exists beneath our reactivity. I laugh so much at this phrase, especially nowadays, with the actual reality of menopausal hot flashes. It's as if the wisdom of menopause is fighting for our attention by adding wood to the fire. Coaching adds wood to the fire and strengthens your ability to turn towards your discomfort and your negative emotions, transforming your unhappiness into the currency of your dreams. Discomfort and negative emotions become the key to your change, to your unhappiness. Wrapping up our definition work, we dive deep into the science of happiness. So how do we do it? How do we coach ourselves to become curious so that we can be curious about our own self-growth and evolution, curious about how we can use visualization to thrive, how we can cooperate more, and how we can increase our pro-social behaviors? Well, we do it by developing beginner's mind. This is a concept from Buddhism that refers to having an attitude of openness, eagerness, and lack of preconceptions when studying a subject, even when studying at an advanced level, just as a beginner would. According to Zen master Shunryu Suzuki, in the beginner's state of mind there are many possibilities, but in the experts there are few. Now don't go wrong here. It is wonderful to have the skill of an expert, but it's about our attitude, our mindset, an expert's mindset or a beginner's mindset, and how it relates to our happiness. So the beginner's mind is about dropping our expectations and our preconceived ideas about something and seeing things with an open mind, fresh eyes, just like a beginner. We become judgment-free, open, curious, available, and present, like the world's scientists are right now. As they develop a vaccine, they're applying beginner's mind, collecting raw data, observing without bias. And lastly, looking at coaching as a journey of transformation, coaching as evolution, and using anything to coach ourselves, from Pay It Forward Day to International Hug Day to COVID-19. A simple way to coach yourself in the moment is to experiment with changing one element of your experience at a time to see what happens. So changing up a thought, a feeling, or an action, and see what happens for you. See what changes in your lived experience. Here, I want to say something about the idea of experimenting in your own self-coaching. Buddha said, "Believe nothing until you have experienced it and found it to be true. Accept my words only after you have examined them for yourselves. Do not accept them simply because of the reverence you have for me." Buddha saw his teachings as a method to happiness and success that each person could experiment with for themselves, telling us to accept each aspect of the teachings only after we've tried it out for ourselves and found it to work. And when your experimentation confirms one step, then try another. And we're doing the same thing here with our self-coaching, experimenting with one thing at a time, a thought, feeling, or an action to see what changes the experience for us, what works for us, and then moving on to the next thing. I'm going to leave you with another of my profound life influences, a poem brought to life by my mother, who, by the way, today is celebrating her 88th birthday. This little poem is on the first page of my childhood autograph book. Did you have one of these growing up? Friends would write you poems and jokes and funny little sayings. It's a bit like a long-lasting Instagram. I thought she'd made up the poem because my grandmother wrote beautiful, heart-wrenching poems in her later years. But I went looking for a source when recording today's episode. It is attributed to some modern authors, long after my autograph book of 1975, so I kept hunting, and the earliest reference I can find is something similar from back in 1917. Anyway, so here it is 102 years later in 2019 for you, my podcast listeners, as a simple self-coaching tip that I hope brings today's discussion to life for you. Smile a while. Smile a while, and while you smile, others around you will begin to smile. And soon there will be miles and miles and miles of smiles. And life is made so worthwhile just because you smiled. And lastly, we come to the real celebration. Cake and presents. Cake, chocolate cake. I have over 300 recipes for chocolate cake, all tried and tested since I learned to bake when I was 9. I love it that much. I don't have it very often anymore these days, though. I gave up sugar 3 years ago, but I still love it for special occasions, like getting married, my birthday, and now the Happiness Matters podcast birthday with you. I'll share my favorite recipe in the show notes, and perhaps you'd like to send me yours. That would be fun. I'll also share my current passion, Marmite scones. I did actually share this recipe with you earlier this year, as I'm totally addicted. I'm afraid that Marmite for many of you will be an unknown entity. It was originally a very British thing, but the good thing if you're in the US and don't know what it is you can buy it online from Walmart and Amazon. I did check. It is an extraordinary spread, revolting to many first-time tasters, but beyond delicious, the stuff of childhood memories and happiness for the rest of us. A yeast extract spread made as a byproduct of beer brewing. Best described as a sticky, dark brown food paste with a distinctive, powerful flavor that is extremely salty. Their marketing slogan says it all. Love it or hate it. So chocolate cake and Marmite scones and sparkling wine left over from my 50th birthday last year. We're having to raid our home stocks as during lockdown no alcohol sales can be made, and still not even in our next level 4. Thank you so much for joining me, for joining us both this year on our happy and successful, no matter what, coaching journey. And now for the gifts, my friends, the presents. I am embarking on a new research project for my Transforming Difficult Relationships coaching program. And I am looking for 10 women who would like to be part of this research project. I've spent the early part of this year and our 5-week lockdown creating something very exciting, and I'm now looking for 10 of you to coach with me as my research participants. And I'm looking for very specific people to coach individually one-on-one with me. If this is you, please send me your details by going to our website, Happiness-Matters.coach, clicking on the yellow button Coach with Julia and choosing the Research Project option. This is who I'm looking for. Women in business, working women who are in management or leadership positions, women who are over 45. Specifically, women who are having what I call the 50 conversation in their heads. So either you're nearing 50 and the conversation in your head is, I must get my life sorted out before I turn 50, or you've already turned 50, so that immediate pressure is over, but you're getting increasingly frustrated that things are not different in your life after 50, that you still haven't managed to make the changes you wanted. Then you must have a relationship that needs work. You know you need to address this relationship if you really do want to move forward and enjoy your midlife. But you really don't want to do the work. You don't know how to change things, and it's actually painful for you to think about and painful for you to imagine working on. For example, you might have spent the last lockdown with your life partner and your relationship deteriorated. Or you might have had time to reflect and decided something must be done about the relationship with your daughter, your mother-in-law. It could just as easily be a work relationship that's ruining your daily experience of work, a team member that gets under your skin like no one else, a colleague on the executive team who enrages you. You feel despondent, dread, anxiety, and probably some shame that even now, when you're so successful in your life in other areas, you're not successful at this one relationship. And you feel at a loss at what to do. You don't feel powerful or strong or capable in this one area. Very important to know, this program does not need the other person to be part of the coaching. This is all with you individually, and it's not going to require you to schedule conflict resolution sessions or counseling sessions or to have deep and meaningful, difficult conversations. This is the very exciting thing. You and I will coach together only, just the two of us, working with your inner life partners, your mind, your emotions, and your body. And we'll fix this relationship for you. We'll profoundly change the way you experience this relationship, and we will set you up for success into your midlife. The commitment from you is 2 months, coaching once a week with some additional self-coaching practice during the week. The payment is twofold. There is no cash involved, so it's free from that sense. But I am asking for payment. I want feedback on the program. Firstly, I want to know what worked and what needs adapting so it's more impactful. And secondly, I'll be wanting you to write a review on how you benefited. Your feedback will be combined into a larger project that I'm working on. If this is you and you'd love to coach with me for the next 2 months on your most troublesome, frustrating, infuriating relationship, go to the website Happiness-Matters.coach, click on the big yellow button Coach with Julia and choose Research Project. I am so looking forward to this and I can't wait to meet you. That was fun, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed the clips refreshing your memory on all that great content from the last year. Perhaps you're even inspired to listen back again with fresh eyes. As Marcel Proust, the early 1900s French novelist, said, "The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week. May you be happy. May you be free. There is no better time to do this coaching together. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us for this year of coaching, and I can't wait to meet and coach with you.
Thanks for joining us on this Happiness Matters podcast. Do join us again here next week on Tuesday. You can subscribe to this series at Apple Podcasts on iTunes, or you can sign up for it on our website, Happiness-Matters.coach. That's Happiness-Matters.coach. COACH. Also, you can join our conversation on Facebook by following us there. Our Facebook page is also Happiness-Matters.coach.